Am I the asshole for being culturally, religiously insensitive and not leaving a restaurant? Resubmitting because I didn't respond to the judgment bot fast enough last time. Technology, sigh. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So, I am in London for a couple days, and like any time I'm near Marble Arch, I popped into Selfridges for a salt beef sandwich. For those who haven't eaten there before, they have this lunch counter with 2 lines, one for takeaway and one for table service in their seating area. The seating area is only enclosed by a low wall and not at all private, important later, and is packed with 2 and 4 tops. I wanted to sit, so I was in line for table service. There were 2 people behind me and what I think were niqabs. When I was up next for seating, the server came up and asked how many in my party, but before I could answer, one of the people behind me pushed forward and said, 2. The server, politely, told them, he, gesturing at me, was here first. And after a brief argument with them about how the person ahead of them in line gets seated before them, proceeded to seat me. So I was seated at a small 2-top with only 1 chair, a bench affixed to the wall, that faced into the seating area. I ordered, and then the table directly in front of me left, and was bussed. Next thing I know, the people from behind me in line were seated there. They ordered and then my sandwich was brought to my table. I started to eat, but noticed they were getting increasingly agitated. Eventually one of them started snapping in the air until a server came over. They kept gesturing at me and talking at the server. At first I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but they got louder and louder until I could hear. They were demanding I be made to leave so they could uncover their faces and drink their tea. I have no idea why I was singled out, but apparently, from what I could hear, my presence as a male by himself was the problem for them. The server never came over to ask me to leave or anything, so I just continued eating. But throughout my meal, they very loudly kept making nasty comments about my being there until they finished their tea and left. I honestly don't think I was the asshole because I was there first. I had already ordered, and I wasn't interacting with them at all. Heck, I wouldn't have even noticed them if it weren't for the snapping for a server and then them being loud and angry. So, why am I here? After they left, I texted a friend with "the weirdest thing just happened," and told them about it. My friend is normally down for a good eye roll, but this time they got pretty mad at me and told me I had been culturally insensitive, had disrespected the people's religion, was an asshole for not realizing that as a single man I would cause them distress, and was the reason people hate American tourists. They also told me the right thing to do would have been to take my meal to go and eaten elsewhere so the people sitting near me could have uncovered and had their tea in peace. So, am I the asshole here? What should I have done in this situation? Edit to add. For everyone saying my friend is an idiot or bellend, P.S. I love that term. I may have to culturally appropriate it from you Brits, they're generally not. Which is why them getting, still being upset with me has me questioning if I was inadvertently an AH. Not the asshole. They must know that being in a public place they're going to encounter males in various places. Not the asshole. The entitlement of some people, it's a public space, they can't expect to control you in it. Also, your friend is an idiot. Not the asshole. Their religious bullshit isn't your responsibility or problem. Not the asshole. I visited the area and have seen women in hijabs slightly lift their face covering to eat, drink. They had no right asking you to leave. Not the asshole at all. Am I the asshole for not allowing family to see our son due to them not making it a priority to see us? Posting for my husband. Husband, 36 male, and I, 32 female, have a strained relationship with all of his family. Things are hot and cold with all of them. For context, we live in same town as his parents, about 20 minutes drive. His sisters used to live here, but moved away last year. For the last 10 years, every event and holiday and gathering has revolved around Sil1 and her family. She was the only one with kids. Sil2 is married, child-free by choice. Neither sister works. Anyways, now we have a baby, 8 Malio M. His parents see him maybe once a month, typically initiated by us, but that's a whole other story. Sil1 has seen our son twice since he's been born. For a total of maybe 3 hours combined. Sil2 has only seen him once. Both of them have been in town since last Thursday. My husband and I both work full-time. So you would think that they would have thought about the fact that seeing their nephew would probably be easiest to do over the weekend, or on the 4th when we had off work. But he obviously isn't a priority to them. On the 4th, SIL1 texted husband and let us know that they'd be at their parents' house the next day and that we should bring baby over to see everyone. My husband was already hurt that we hadn't heard anything from them. He didn't respond that night. He ended up responding the next morning and said we are working and baby will be with the sitter. She responded saying, well, when can the kids see baby? I told him it was his call. At that point, the only options were Friday night or Saturday morning before they left. Weekday evenings are always a rush due to feeding a solid meal, bath time, me pumping, bedtime routine, etc. Husband told her we would be home Friday evening or Saturday morning. She responded saying they were leaving too early on Saturday, and had plans Friday night. She later said they could maybe manipulate plans to make Friday work. Friday rolls around and she lets us know they plan to stop by around 7. Baby's bedtime is 8 o'clock, and sometimes he's ready for bed closer to 7:30. We follow his sleepy cues. He ended up telling her that would be too close to his bedtime and the extra stimulation right before bed would throw off his whole routine. He told her they should try again next time they're in town, and that maybe they'd make us a priority next time instead of an afterthought. He received no response, to no surprise. We've tried to be flexible for the last several years, but we don't have much room for flexibility when I have a pump schedule, and baby has a feeding, nap, bedtime schedule. We are also sick of bowing down to what his sister wants. We want to be a priority, too. So, am I the asshole? Well, my husband, not me, for telling them they can try again next time if they make us a priority? The reason I'm wondering is because we're not giving my son a chance to see his cousins, and because I guess the wording could have been harsh. ETA. We did tell them bedtime was at 8 p.m. and that husband would be home at 5, and me earlier. We also let them know we'd be off Mon Tuesday, and asked to get together Mon. We got no response to those messages. You are definitely not the asshole. And those saying you are the ones treating their family members this exact same way. You owe them nothing. They, including in-laws, have made it very clear how important you are to them. Believe me, I've lived it the past 20 years. My daughters, 26 and 21, have zero relationship with my husband's parents, because once his sister had her first child, their other grandchildren ceased to exist. They made no effort to spend time with our girls unless we initiated it. And when we were around them, all his mom could do was talk about his sister and her kids. It's not worth the emotional effort. Just plan on seeing them at Christmas, maybe Thanksgiving. Not the asshole. You told them when you were available, with 2 whole days they could have seen you. They didn't even bother to reply. Not the asshole. Your child is 8 months and they do not need to come at his bedtime. As for him seeing his cousins? He is way too young to understand or to remember if he sees them or not. They were in town for a full week and blew you off until the last night. If they want to see him, they need to make him a priority. You are the asshole, but a soft one. It's hard when families get bigger. They are being an ass too. You can't all be the priority. I live out of town and my SIL is always wanting me to work in specific times to see them and the kids around work and their schedule. From my point of view, I've driven 6 hours and taken time off work. Can there be some give? Also, if they come to my parents, 2 kilometers away, I can see them and everybody together, which for a limited visit is so cool. I get so little time with everyone if I visit everyone individually. Just another view. Families are hard. Having a baby is hard. Info. Why didn't you bring your son over the day you were invited? Is that not your SIL making an effort? It sounds like both you and your husband are reacting out of hurt. Am I the asshole for showing my sister's boyfriend her childhood photos? I am F21, my sister is F23. My sis, for the sake of anonymity I will call her Cass, is pretty now, but to be honest, that hasn't always been true. Of the 2 of us I was always considered the prettier sister. I don't mean this badly, but I do know what people meant by this. I am conventionally attractive, long blonde hair, green eyes, tall, slim, and she is on the shorter side, naturally frizzy dark hair, used to be 10 pounds. Heavier than she should have been at 5 feet 3, and chubbier in the face. Because of this, Cass grew up extremely insecure and would take it out on me and attempt to sabotage me anytime something in my life was going better for me than for her. For example, even though I'm younger, I got engaged before her. My wedding is in October. My sister already has her dress for the wedding and, what do you know? It's the closest shade to white as it can be, champagne and ugly AF. I've put it behind me, but I feel her jealousy and insecurities have put a wedge in our relationship. Recently Cass got into a relationship with her current boyfriend. Their relationship has surprisingly been going really well. I guess she finally found a guy who can handle her pettiness lol. About a year before this relationship, she got a nose job, started working out, changed her hair and just looks a lot better. As shallow as this may sound, I am recently less embarrassed to introduce her to people ever since she has been putting in effort. Anyway, I was out to dinner on the 4th of July with some family and friends, and Cass brought her boyfriend. Cass and her boyfriend were seated across from me and my fiancé. The dinner was going fairly well until Cass started pissing me off by bringing up a story from when I was 12 and saying I was always such a brat, and so needy and entitled, and that thankfully I've, at least slightly changed since then, while doing this annoying high-pitched squeaky giggle she only does when she's with her boyfriend. My annoyance led to me realizing Cass's boyfriend probably has no idea what she used to look like prior to her glow-up, as I doubt Cass showed him any photos. So I spoke up suddenly and said I had some funny photos to share of Cass and me when we were about 8 and 10. There's a photo on my phone where we are both at the beach, but her swimwear is way too small for her and you can see how heavy she is. Cass was angry before I even had the photo ready and tried to lean across the table to grab the phone out of my hands, but her boyfriend grabbed her wrist and stopped her before she could. I showed my fiancé and her boyfriend the photo, which led to awkward silence before her boyfriend said, "That's you," in disbelief, and Cass immediately began crying. She got up and left to go to the bathroom, not before saying I'm a B and making people in the restaurant look at us. I don't feel I'm in the wrong here because of the way she acted, but my fiancé thinks I was immature. I don't think I'm the asshole, but I'd like reassurance. Well, someone's jealous and insecure, but it doesn't sound like your sister. Take a look in the mirror. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. You sound jealous and insecure. Acting this petty at your age? Grow up. The fact that you posted this trying to say how entitled, jealous and petty your sister is, but you are the one coming across this way. You are the asshole. I can't believe you pulled up picture of children, regardless that it is you, to make a vindictive point. You're awful. You are the asshole and an ugly person. This has to be fake because there's no way you're that cruel of a person. This reads as insanely insecure and jealous on your part. Am I the asshole for knowing that my son isn't mine and choosing to raise him anyways? 42M, was with my ex, 41F, for 4 years from the ages of 27–31. In the second year of our relationship she got pregnant and I was so happy to be a dad. So excited to give my child everything I didn't have. Later on in the year, we welcomed a beautiful healthy baby boy. I should preface this a bit more by saying that myself and my ex are both pale Korean. So when my son was born of darker skin, I had some doubts but told myself that he would gain features that resembled his mom and I the more time went on. I was wrong. Within the first year of his life I knew that my son wasn't mine. Along with his darker skin, he has hair that defies gravity while mine and his mom's is as straight as needles. He has different facial features than the both of us. Despite knowing most of these within the first year of his life, I decided to stick around and raise him as my own because I already grew an attachment to him and vice versa. I of course didn't mention that I knew to my ex, and whenever my family would question me about it, I'd just say, "He's my boy." Of course the relationship with his mom and I ended, but for other reasons. Despite that I've still stuck around to raise my son. He's 15 now and lives with me 75% of the time and with his mom the other 25%. It's just what works for us. Last week I took my son to get his haircut as he didn't want to grow out his afro anymore. He went back with his mom shortly afterwards, and the day after I got a call from my ex telling me she needed to speak with me and that it was serious. We met up, and she sits me down very dramatically and proceeds to tell me that my son isn't my son and that he's her old coworker's son, and that he's in a very vital stage where he needs to learn about him and his biological dad's culture and whatnot. I told her that I knew. She looked shocked and confused. I told her that I wasn't stupid, that I knew since the moment that he was born, and that I loved him, and if he chooses to meet his bio dad then I fully support him. She ended up getting mad at me saying that, if you knew you should have said something and we could have prevented depriving him of his other culture long ago. When I brought up that she should have told me, she just said, "I didn't want to hurt you." That conversation ended and she went on to tell my son everything. He was rightfully upset and called me afterwards to pick him up, I told him that I had knew and just loved him from the beginning. He was upset with me for about a day, then he came to me and said he wanted to meet his bio dad. I said okay and called his mom. Long story short, bio dad doesn't want to be involved despite knowing about my son since he's been born. My son is still rightfully sore about the situation and my ex is saying it's just as much as my fault for not saying anything. Maybe if I did say something that he could have grown up with his real dad and didn't have to go through this or any of the other things he's experienced. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You are a true dad. Your ex is garbage, I'm sorry to say. It is 100% her fault for putting both you and your son through this. You have done nothing but step up and be a real dad in all the ways that matter. Not the asshole. You said the bio dad has known all along but doesn't want to be involved. How would have telling your son about this change that bio dad doesn't want to be involved? It's not like he wasn't told until you acknowledged it. So many people wouldn't have done what you did. I understand your son being upset about being lied to, but it sounds like you do too. Not the asshole, you ex-wife is a real piece of work. Not the asshole, good on you for loving your son. Regardless of who fathered him, you're his dad and always will be. Do not let your ex blame you. She's the one who cheated on you, had a baby and continued to lie whilst he was growing up. Totally not your fault. If you noticed the differences then she most certainly did too. That'd be the cue for her to come clean but she didn't. Not the asshole, you can learn about his culture together.